Well, let me just start from scratch. Close everything out. When I say close everything out, I mean literally close everything out. Close view over to there. Push it so I can actually see it. Move you over here. Get out of here. Chat. Let's do this. Blender. We now have Blender opened. Starting from scratch. Chat. Let's learn Blender. Blender tutorial.
Question. Would you build a website for a major brand with more than 200 million users using Wix? Well, we did.
Blender tutorial.
Hi, I'm Sivan. I'm an R&D manager here at Wix. Today I want to show you how we use our own platform, creating some pretty complex functionalities that makes it.
This is Blender, open source 3D software that can be used to make animations, visual effects, game assets, or practically anything 3D. And best of all, it's 100% free and it always will be. If you've never used it before but you want to learn it, well, then you're in the right place. This is a tutorial for complete beginners. I've been using Blender for 20 years, so I'm going to show you how to use all of its core features. And by the end, you'll finish with not only the confidence to start your own projects, but with your very own donut animation. And I know this looks complex, but I promise you it's achievable for a complete beginner. And I say that with confidence because many already have. This is actually the 4th version of this tutorial. I made the first donut tutorial back in 2016, and I've been remaking it
Stop showing donuts.
every few years to keep up with Blender. So never use to a little ready to take .org/download, or just click the link in the description. Then, obviously, you got to hit the big download button. Once downloaded on Windows, double click it and then just go through the install steps. But if you're on a Mac, just drag it into the applications folder. Then just find the Blender shortcut and open it. Then once it's open, just click anywhere off the splash screen to close it, and welcome to the wonderful world of 3D. First tip, do not get overwhelmed. If you go clicking around, you might find lots of buttons and some of them with very scary names, and it can all get very overwhelming very quickly. The thing you need to know is Blender can do a lot of things, which means it has a lot of tools, but you don't
No, I've tried it yet.
need to know every tool in order to do what you want to do. If you're familiar with the 80-20 rule, there's really only 20% of Blender's features that you end up using 80% of the time. And that's what I'm planning to teach you in this tutorial series. So stay with me and you should be fine. We'll start making the donut in the next video. In this one, we're just going to look at the interface, and I'm going to show you some of the basic navigation. So for starters, this view, this window right here, is your 3D viewport, and it's where you'll spend probably 90% of your time, because it is the 3D world. So you can see that we have 3 objects here. We've got a camera, we've got a cube, and we've got a lamp. And when we click on it, you can see it's selected because it has the yellow outline. So let's delete the default cube, of course, and replace it with something else. So we could do that by going up to the Add menu up here, or by remembering the hotkey, which is Shift A. So Shift A for Add. So usually the one you're looking for is underneath Mesh. So these are called your primitives, and it's what you use to start something when you're looking to make an object. Like if you're going to make a chair, you might start with a cylinder as the chair leg and then build out from there. But the one I'm sure you're all very curious, you want to click it, it's the monkey. So let's just click the monkey. Why does Blender have a monkey? Well, fun fact, every 3D software has its own little random complex object because it's useful to test things like shading or complexities of
Why?
So 3ds Max has the Utah teapot, Houdini has the toy, and I think Pig's head. Blender has the monkey. It's actually called the
Why? Just why?
Zan monkey head, which you can see in the top left there, named after the orangutan from the film Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back. Random piece of trivia. So let's get a
Well,
better look at it. And for that, we need to orbit, which you can do by on your mouse there, your scroll wheel. That is called your middle mouse button. If you push that in and then drag around, that is now orbiting. Now, for my laptop
that's
users,
how you
you've just
move.
panicked because
Yeah.
you realize you don't have a mouse. How are you going to orbit around? First of all, probably a good idea to get a mouse for 3D work. It will come in handy. But in a pinch, you can get by without it just by up here in the top right-hand corner, this little gray circle, anywhere in the gray section. If you just left-click, drag on that, that will do the exact same thing. Or if you want, you can go to Edit Preferences, and then underneath Input, there's Emulate
I just
3-button
copied it.
mouse. And that means that if you hold down Alt and then left-click, drag, that will do the exact same thing. Also, whilst you are in user preferences, you might want to go to interface.
Where's user preferences? Chat, they removed it. That was like, where is it? Bro. Oh, no. Preferences. Yeah.
If you just left click,
Oh,
drag on that, that will do
okay.
the exact same thing. Or if you want, you can go to Edit Preferences, and then underneath Input, there's Emulate 3-button mouse. And that means that if you hold down Alt and then left click, drag, that will do the exact same thing. Also,
Alright.
whilst you are in user preferences, you might want to go to Interface, and you've got Resolution Scale. If you're on a 4K monitor, you might find that your menus and buttons are really small and you kind of have to like squint in to see it. So personally, I like to keep my 4K monitor around about 1.5. Since this is a tutorial, I'll make it nice and big so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so that's orbiting around with the middle mouse button. If we want to zoom in, we can do that just by scrolling in and out. We could also do it by going up to the magnifying glass tool there, and then just left-click dragging and then moving the mouse back and forth. That does the same thing. Or you could hold down Control and then middle mouse button, and that will do a smooth zoom as well. Okay, so one thing you might notice looking at this is that it's not very pretty, right? It's just kind of got this flat, bland, gray lighting over everything. And that's because this state right now is called viewport shading. And it's kind of a lightweight, optimized way to view the scene just as you're building it. But if you want to create a final pretty image, that's called rendering. And you can actually switch into rendered mode by going up here into the top right-hand corner. You can see we're currently in the viewport shading mode. If we go 2 across, you should see rendered view mode. So if we click that, your computer might stall for a quick second whilst it loads it in, but you can see it's now different. If we go 2 across, you should see rendered view mode. So if we click that, your computer might stall for a quick second whilst it loads it in. You can see it's now different. We have directional light. We have shadow cast across the monkey. So it's now
Okay.
currently being lit by this lamp up here. So
I like
if
that.
I wanted to, zoom in on that lamp there and just kind of like move it around, you can see it's kind of hard to focus on. Like it's always exactly not in the right view. And that's because we are centered on our monkey right now. We need to change the focus. We need to pan to something else. So we could do that one of 2 ways. One, if you're on a laptop, you could use the little move tool there. That will do that. Or everyone else, shift middle mouse click, drag, that will do the same thing. So middle mouse is for orbiting, shift middle mouse is for pan to change your view to something else. Okay, so I want to move my light because it's too moody. I want to be able to see the monkey's face there. So to move an object, you could do it one of 2 ways. One, you could go over to the left-hand corner here and you've got the move tool. When you click that, you can see that the selected object, the lamp, has this gizmo, it's called, with these axes on it. And if I just clicked and dragged on any of those arrows there, you can see I can move it along any of those axes.
Well,
I
I'm
can just click
moving.
on that white circle there, and that will just freehand drag it depending on my view. But it's kind of tedious. Every time you want to move something, you have to like go to that tool and then find the arrows and yada yada. So actually, most people in Blender prefer to use the hotkeys. So we just keep it in the default selection state here. And
Be quiet. Don't save it. Don't say that. Blender. Boom. 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 Remove you. Just get out of here. Shift A. mesh monkey. We have our monkey back. Our monkey's back. Let's go back to here and move. No. Yeah, I should do this.
And instead, remember the hotkey, which is G for grab. Now, I've just tapped the key, and you'll notice as I move my cursor that it's now attached to my cursor. My cursor isn't even actually close to it. In fact, my cursor could be on the other side of the screen, and I could tap G, and it will move it. And at first, this is kind of awkward. You're like, why is it working this way? But once you get used to it, you realize it's actually handy because you don't have to spend all this time like navigating your cursor to something just so that you can move it. Your cursor could be over here, and then just tap it and you're moving it. So whilst you're in this move state, if you want to cancel a movement, you could do it one of two ways. You could just hit escape, or you could right click. Then if you want to confirm a movement, like say I want to move my
Where's my
light
map?
here and I like
No,
the movement, I could just do
stop.
a single
Stop! Where's my light at? Where's my light? Where's my light? Bro, point. No, I just want a light. I want it to be called light. J, and it's moving with my cursor. Alright, there. Now we can do that. But, remove light. Remove light. Shift A. Mesh. No. Light. Sun. Light. J. No matter where I move this light, it will still always be pointing at the monkey. There you go.
left click. So again, if I want to cancel something, just right click. If I want to confirm the movement, left click. But let's say I wanted to move it along an axis, like, I like these arrows here and I want to be able to move it on just a specific axis. Well, I can do that whilst I'm in that grab state as well. So after I have hit the G key to grab it, I can then tap the letter of the axes that I want to move it on. So if you don't know, in the real world and in the 3D software, there are 3 axes because there's 3 dimensions. There's the X axis, which I can move it by hitting the X key, the Y axis to move it back and forth along the Y axis with the Y key, or the Z axis to move it up and down on the Z axis. So you can remember those.
Shift A. Well, Shift A. Light. Spot. Not spot. Why did I say spot? Delete. Delete that. Go over here. Go over here. What is area? I honestly just want to. I'm honestly just messing around with all this stuff. Alright, don't care. Delete. Add. Light. Point. G. Grab my light. I'm gonna be able to see it. Bro. There. Make it bigger. Big light. Oh, no. That doesn't work. If that doesn't work, then hold on. I get it.
Those letters, the X, Y, and Z, or the method that I actually prefer to use is whilst you're in that G state, if you just hold down the middle mouse button and then pull out, you can see you get this like gray line that pulls out from the center. And then if you just drag out and move around, it will snap it to the nearest axes, which again is maybe an odd way to work, but it's actually really handy because it means you don't have to think of the letter and locate it on your keyboard. I can just tap G to move it and then middle mouse drag out and then just find that
Yeah,
exact axes that I'm looking for
nice.
in mind. Now let's say as I am moving around here, I'm like, oh, this looks really good. I've got some nice Rembrandt lighting across the monkey's face. I want to take a photo. I want to take a nice pretty image of this and post it on socials for clout, right? Well, I could take a screenshot of it, but that would be silly because it's got all these lines all over. It's all noisy, right? We don't like it. The way you take a photo, a pretty image in Blender, is to do a render. So you could do that one of two ways, by going up to render and hitting render image, or remembering the hotkey which says next to it F12.
Navan's business travel platform? It completely ruined my life. You see, I've been in the Great Policy Force for over 30 years. Let me tell you, I've seen it all. I didn't know I couldn't upgrade to business. Yeah, right. Their clients, I gotta get them 2 bottles of champagne. Beat it, punk. I need the executive suite to close deals.
So when you do that, a little window will pop up. It will use your CPU or GPU, depending on which renderer you've got active, and it will render out a pretty image. And from here, you could go image and then save as, and it'll save it as a PNG or whatever, wherever you want to save it. But you might notice looking at this that this is actually a different view than what we have here, right? So here I've got a nice view of the monkey's face, but there is a different view. And the reason for that is when you do a render, it's not rendering from the view that you're looking at currently. It's always going to render from the point of view of the camera. So this is our camera over here, and it's looking from this angle. And we can actually look through the camera by just clicking the little camera icon there, or by remembering the hotkey, which is number pad 0. So how do we move the camera? Well, Blender's a little awkward, maybe a little different to other software packages, but you're supposed to like hit G to move it and then like middle mouse to zoom in and out. And then if you want to like move it along an axis, I guess G and then X. You could do that, but actually what a lot of users prefer, especially those from other software packages, is if you've got your camera selected, which by the way, I haven't mentioned this, but up here, this is your outliner. It's kind of an inventory of every item that you've got in your scene. Okay, so with the
Oh god, that's what you
camera
zoomed in.
selected, if I hit N, N is to bring up the properties, N for properties for whatever reason, and then go to view. There's a little box there that just says lock to camera to view. So now, with that active, if I just use the same keyboard shortcut,
Yeah!
the camera is moving with it. So essentially the view, I can set it up exactly as I want, then hit N again, and then I can disable that. And then now as I pull out, you can see that the camera will stay exactly where it was, and I could do a lovely, pretty render. But this is too simple. If we post this on the internet, people are...
Hello and welcome to this video all about Blender shortcuts. In this video you'll find very helpful shortcut keys that can help speed up your workflow, and it just makes life so much easier. So to get started with, you've just opened up Blender and you want to open up a recent file. Now you can obviously go up here, go to File, Open Recent, or you can just hit Ctrl O, ask if you want to save, and then you open up whatever you were working on. Similarly, if you want to save your project, Ctrl S, this works on pretty much most applications, but Ctrl S to save, Ctrl N to create a new file, and this will allow you to create a general 2D animation, all the basic options there. Now let's say you've made a change that you don't like, Ctrl Z undo, or you didn't want that undo, Ctrl Shift and Z will redo. And if you're not happy with how it's going and you just want life to give up, then Ctrl Q will quit. So that's for the basic keys, but now we'll go into the more detailed keys. Say you don't like this key being here, you can press delete, that will delete the key. Or if you don't want to delete it, pressing the delete key, you can also press X, which gives you the option, and then you can delete. Now if you have lots of objects in your scene, you can press A to completely select everything, or you can press Alt A and that will select nothing. And expanding upon that, you can press Ctrl I to invert that selection. So So let's say you've got this cube, but you want to select everything but that, Control I will do that. And that is quite a handy tip to have. Let's say you was doing some work with multiple models and you didn't want to see this cube because it's in the way of something else. You can, once it's selected, press H, which will hide the cube, and if you want to reveal that hidden item, you can hold Alt H to bring it back up. Now over here on the side you have your toolbar, which you can click to reveal, or click and drag to hide it again, or you can press T, and whenever you press T,
I hide it.
that hidden item, you can hold Alt H to bring it back up. Now over here on the side you have your toolbar, which you can click to reveal, or click and drag to hide it again,
Dude.
or you can press T, and whenever you press T it will hide
There.
and show that toolbar. N will be for the sidebar, so that will show all your transforms, all the other, maybe you've got plugins enabled. Most of them will have something that comes up on this sidebar here. Now let's say we're actually editing this cube, okay? You can go up here to object mode and go straight into edit mode, or tab simply goes quickly through them. Once you are in edit mode, you have 1, 2, 3 at the top of your keyboard for vertex mode, edge mode, and face mode. And you can also see up here, we can select that vertex, edge, or face. Now for the camera controls up here, you do have the number pad. You've got 0, which allows you to jump into the camera, 0 to jump back out. Now you have these number pad keys also for viewing. So 1 will take you to the Y position up here on this gimbal, 3 takes you to the X, 7 takes you to the Z, and the numbers in between are for spinning in that axis. So 1 takes you to Y, 2 spins on the Y axis, 3 takes you to X, 4 spins on the X axis, and 7 takes you to Z, and 8 spins you on the Z axis. And anything where you're seeing I'm holding control, that can be used as Now for the camera controls up here, you do have the number pad. You've got 0, which allows you to jump into the camera. Say you have your toolbar, which lots of objects in your scene. You can press A to completely select everything, or you can press Alt A and that will select nothing. And expanding upon that, you can press Control I to invert that selection. So let's say you've got this cube, but you want to select everything but that, Control I will do that. And that is quite a handy tip to have. Let's say you're doing some
Oh my god, what do you mean?
in your
Alt
scene,
I,
you can
and
press
then
A
it.
to completely select everything, or you can press Alt A and that will select nothing. And expand completely select everything, or you can press Alt A and that will select nothing. And expanding upon that, you can press Control I
Was Alt
to
A.
invert that selection. So
Still
let's say you've
doesn't.
got this cube, but you want to select everything.
Okay. Alt I. Bro. Bro got no viewers. You should have came earlier then.
But that, Control I will do that. And that is quite a handy tip to have. Let's say you was doing some work with multiple models and you didn't want to see this cube because it's in the way of something else. You can, once it's selected, press H, which will hide the cube. These number pad keys also for viewing. So 1 will take you to the Y position up here on this gimbal, 3 takes you to the X, 7 takes you to the Z, and the numbers in between are for spinning in the axis. So 1 takes you to Y, 2 spins on the
Reopen Blender. Bring Blender over here. What is this? What is that? No. Ah.
Y axis, 3 takes you to X, 4 spins on the x-axis, and 7 takes you to z, and 8 spins you on the z-axis. And anything where you're seeing I'm holding control, that can be used as command on Mac. But now into moving objects. So you have this move option up here. If you see, this shortcut is shift spacebar, which allows you to get into this toolbox here. Or similarly, just press G and that allows you to move. However, if you press G and one of the axes, GZ allows you to move in the Z, GX allows you to move in the X, and GY allows you to move in the Y. Similarly, you can press GZZ, and depending on where this object is orientated, it will move in the axis of the object. So let's just rotate this. And press G, Z, Z again, and you can see it's in the axis of the object, not the world. So GZ once would be world axis, GZ twice would be in the object's axis, and that works for all the transforms when you press it twice. And see, the Y has not changed, so it's going to be the same. So those are probably the
I want to type what I will do. Grab you. Fine. Alright, whatever. Hold on. Learn hotkeys. Learn modeling. Oh, what did I... Oh. Well, I'm gonna learn hotkeys. I'm gonna learn modeling. I'm gonna learn Blender. Just not put in what I'm gonna do. Just do learning Blender, since that's really all I'm doing.
most common shortcuts you're going to be using, and they're really good to remember. So great thing about this video being here is going to have chapters in it, so you can save this video, give it a like, and you can always come back to it and quickly go between those chapters to see which shortcut keys you need to use the most. So if you can't remember them all now, don't worry, you can always come back. So let's go into edit mode. And what we'll do is we'll just press 1 on the numpad, so we're in the Z direction. Up here we have our different views, our wireframe view. Let's just select the box select, the top face. You can see if we press G, Z, we're only moving the Z. We can select that there, and S, so we can scale those vertexes in. Alternatively, if you can press X, you can press SZ to only scale in the Z direction. Of course, it's not doing anything, but if we would say SY, make that change, we'll see we've scaled that in the Y axis. We can scale that in the X axis as well. So all these axes can be applied to any transform. So say we want to inset that face with I, E to extrude that, S in the X, I to insert, E to extrude, S in the Y axis. Edit mode. And what we'll do is we'll just press 1 on the numpad, so we're in the Z direction. Up here we have our different views, our wireframe view. Let's just select with the box select.
We'll do that. I'm going to select everything.
The top face.
Gonna extrude. Give this look.
You can see if we press
Look like
the
it has a
Z,
shadow.
we're only moving the Z. You can select that there, and S.
Grab it.
So we can
Now it looks like it has a nice
those X's in.
little
Alternatively,
shadow,
press
but it
X.
doesn't. It
You can
just
press
is normal.
SZ, only scale.
But this is
in
what
the
it
Z
currently
direction.
looks
Of course,
like.
it's not doing anything, but
This
we would
is
say
like what we're gonna try and
SY.
do.
To make that
Extrude it
change,
up.
you'll see we've scaled that in
Review
the Y axis. We can scale that in the X axis as well. So all these axes can
There
be
we go.
applied to any transform.
I don't know what I'm doing. Hope you know that.
So say we want to inset that face with I.
Hope I don't know what I'm doing. Like literally.
Extrude that. S in the X.
2 to 3.
I to insert. E to extrude. S in the Y axis. We'll go back to solid mode. Tab back into object mode, and you can see we've scaled in those axis directions. And it's really, really useful for modeling. Now, you see up here we were jumping from wireframe to solid. You can do that just with the Z key. And when you tap Z, you see the wireframe rendered solid on material preview. But you see they have numbers on them as well. So you can press Z8, and it will take you to that. You can press Z4, take you back to wireframe, Z2 to take you to material preview, Z6 to take you to the solid. So if you're looking on the numpad on the right, it's the 4 buttons, which are also the arrow keys in some keyboards. Jumping back into edit mode with tab, if you press
Here we go.
C, that will give you the circle select. And with the circle
Check
select,
there.
it allows you to click and drag, and you can select your objects like that. So with your object
Cylinder.
selected, tab to go into edit mode, you can see we can select individual faces or individual edges or vertices. However, if you shift click, you can select multiple. And shift click again to deselect whatever you've selected. Now alternatively, you can use C to go into the circle select, and that allows you to highlight all without pressing shift, and escape to exit that, and then you have your selection. The only downside with using the circle select is it doesn't allow you to pan, so you have to exit that to pan. Now what we can also do is jump back into object mode. Now for duplication of objects, you can select it, and Shift D will duplicate your object. Alternatively, you can use Alt D, which will also duplicate your object.
I'm gonna learn Blender later. Alright, I'm gonna learn Blender later.